Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to find a new job during a recession. This is a subject which has come up amongst my friendship group and I've seen it on LinkedIn quite a few times, so I thought I'd make a video about how I have found a job during a recession. The story that we're going to be going through is actually last year in 2020, where I found a new job at the start of the year. At that time, the UK was in a recession, technically speaking, and therefore it was a little bit more challenging finding that right opportunity for me. But I still managed to do it. I've also read lots of different blog posts and lots of different books about this too, some of which are on this shelf here. So we're going to be going through the top tips that I'm suggesting you can do to help you find your perfect job even during a recession. Before we dive into the content, just a quick ask from me. If you could, because it will be really helpful for me, if you could just very quickly click the like button and the subscribe button as well. Both of those really help grow my channel and they help share this video that you're watching with other people who might also find it useful. So if you could like and subscribe, that'd be really helpful. Thanks. Okay, before we dive into some of the tips that I have for you that I found useful to finding a job during a recession last year, if you're struggling, please feel free to put a comment down below and I will try my best to go through them and offer some advice. I really want to try and help people as much as I can. So if you're struggling and you've watched this video and you're still after some more tips, please feel free to drop a comment below and I can then go through them and offer some more specific advice for your scenario. Just a quick thing. When I say recession, I don't necessarily mean the technical definition of a recession. I mean more when the job market is quite challenging. So for example, right now in the UK, in the US and most of the developed world, finding a job is much harder than it usually is or has been in the past. And so that's what I mean by recession. I don't necessarily mean the technical economic definition of what a recession is. I just mean more when it's very difficult and challenging to find a role. How might you best position yourself and how have I done that before to find the right role for me? And I'm hoping that if you follow these tips, you might be able to find your right role too. Okay, so let's dive into this. The first point is work smarter, not harder. What do I mean by that? Specifically, I mean find a way to automate your job searching. So on most of the job platforms you might find, for example, LinkedIn Jobs and Monster and all of these job platforms that I have used personally, they have the ability for you to do an advanced search. I think you should do that immediately. An advanced search lets you be very specific about the type of roles that you're looking for, and then you can set up alerts and automated emails and notifications and things like that that will alert you specifically to something that falls within that very well-defined criteria. Having set up these alerts, you can then monitor those over the next few hours and days and see whether they're working for you. If you're finding interesting sounding roles coming out of that, the next thing I would suggest doing is leveraging your network. Alright, so point number 2, leveraging your network. What does that mean? Everybody on this planet, every human that I've ever met before has a network of people. They might not be aware that they do, but they definitely do. So, for example, you might have on a LinkedIn profile of yours, you might have a network of connections you have. Those are your first network of connections. You'll see them, they have a little number 1 next to them. Those individuals are connected with their own group of individuals, and you might see those on your LinkedIn profile as the second. And then you get third degrees too, who are individuals who are not connected to anyone that you're connected to. So by leverage your network, find a way of promoting yourself so that people who are in your first degree, so people who know you well enough to become friends on LinkedIn or connections on LinkedIn rather, and find a way to get them to endorse you, be it in a like of an update or be it in a comment on your profile or similar, so that people in your second degree network also then see that. Getting those individuals to see that social credit is really beneficial for you when you're job hunting, because it gives the social credit that says, yes, that individual is really good at what they do because I'm willing to put my name against that and against them. There will also be recruiters, and recruiters are very interesting people. A big shout out and hello to all the recruiters that I've worked with in the past, both for myself in finding a role and also for hiring and staffing roles myself. I'm going to create a video about how to hire the right individuals in the future. So if you're interested in that sort of recruitment world, make sure you drop a subscribe and like on this video. That would be really helpful. A recruiter is an individual who gets paid typically for staffing you into roles. They might be paid a percentage of your future salary. They might be paid a headhunting commission. There's all sorts of different operating models for recruiters nowadays. But fundamentally, a recruiter's role is to find good talent with good opportunities. They merge those two together. So find the recruiters that work within your specialism. For example, if you work in IT, if you're a developer, there's thousands of recruiters out there. But perhaps there's a recruiter out there who works specifically with your certain languages that you know. Perhaps a recruiter that works in a specific industry. For example, if you only work in the agricultural industry, perhaps there will be a recruiter out there for IT related and digital services for the agricultural industry. Finding those individuals and reaching out to them gives you access to their network as well. Obviously, once you have been vetted to make sure that you're the right candidate, be going through that sort of individual. If you are, then you're not going to face any problems here. Just make sure you have your CV ready so that you're able to send it off and answer any follow-up questions that they might have. Point number 3, clarify your elevator pitch. What is an elevator pitch? I think we've all seen things like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den and things like that. It's typically the sort of 30-second pitch that says what you are, who you are, and what you're about. Finding that, honing that, defining that is really important, because during a recession and once you're trying to find employment, you're going to find yourself up against a lot of other people who are also in a similar position to you. And therefore finding what your elevator pitch, your 30 seconds about why you are great and what your history is, makes your life so much easier, because you're able to then give that elevator pitch to, for example, the recruiters whom you might be working with, or to some of the contacts that you might have, and it just helps speed that up so that when they introduce you to people, you're able to put yourself across in the best possible way in the shortest amount of time. During your elevator pitch, make sure to talk about what you've done previously. Perhaps you've worked with certain organizations, perhaps you've worked in certain industries before. Make sure to talk about those things. If you're slightly earlier in your career, perhaps you don't have that many years experience yet, don't worry, the elevator pitch still works for you. I would just suggest tweaking it slightly. So instead of saying, I used to work for company ABC, what you might instead say is, I studied at this institution, if it's a very reputable, well-known institution. If it's not, perhaps you went to sort of your local college or something, and there's nothing wrong with that. Those educational institutions are fantastic. Perhaps you've done extracurricular work. Perhaps you helped out and you helped launch a company somewhere. Perhaps you helped at a soup kitchen or something similar. There's always going to be something that makes you as an individual interesting to somebody who might want to hire you. Okay, so my fourth tip is refocus on your industry. So in an example I gave earlier with the digital guru who wants to work in the agricultural industry, at first glance you might think somebody wanting a role in the agricultural industry for a specific set of languages or a specific set of skill sets is actually a negative thing, because you're reducing the potential pool of organizations that you can apply for. However, it actually does the inverse. It makes it more likely, I find, that you would then be hired by those individuals and those companies because you have specialist knowledge. In the long run, having specialist knowledge in one super specific industry might become a challenge for you unless you want to devote your life to that specific industry. And again, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But for the short term, in terms of job hunting right now during a recession, it's not a negative thing. It actually makes it easier and it makes it clearer for recruiters and people who are in your network to help find you roles that you might be interested in and whom the employer might be interested to hire you when you become more specialist. It's also worth looking at whether that specific industry is immune somewhat to a recession. For example, the generic tech industry, so the big giants in terms of Facebook and Google at the moment, are unlikely to be negatively affected by a recession, whereas something like a commercial banking institution might become more risk averse during a recession and therefore are unlikely to hire somebody. Okay, here's the fifth thing you can do right now to put yourself in a better position to find a job during a recession. use this time that you have either in employment and you want to move, or during employment, perhaps you're on furlough in the UK or a similar scheme in other European countries. Use this as an opportunity to recenter on the skills that you have and whether there are any other skill sets that you can gain either for free online or for very cheap that will put you in a better place to find a role. As an example of this, if you're a developer working in a specific industry and you find yourself on furlough, or you find yourself wanting to move during a recession, perhaps use this as an opportunity to upskill yourself. Maybe there's a new language, maybe there's a new set of certifications you can get for free or for very cheap online. This might be a great time to spend your evenings and weekends working away on something if you're already in employment, or it might be a great way to spend your day if you don't have employment. This is not just limited to the tech sector though. There are other industries and other industry bodies which are offering either free or cheaper professional learning and professional development. So look online to see whether there is a professional body for your industry, because there might be courses out there that you can do, again, for either free or for cheap, that will put you in a better position and will help upskill you further to enable you to find the right role for you. Okay, so those are my 5 tips that you can take right now to put yourself in a better position to finding the right role for you during a recession. I'm going to put a link in the description below for a blog post that I found that's really interesting about this too and helped inform some of this video. As I mentioned at the start, it would be great if you could like and subscribe. There's buttons down below as well for those. It really helps grow the channel and also helps surface this video to others who might also be looking to find new employment during a recession. If you're struggling, please leave a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer and give some more advice. Thanks, have a nice day.